And if you want more evidence that the Humane Society of the US is basically PETA with a nicer wristwatch, they both have the same kind of materials. They're promoting vegetarianism as a campaign goal. They're not promoting the kinder treatment of farm animals. They're promoting the abolition of the concept of farm animals. This is the back of an envelope that comes when you get a mail solicitation from the Humane Society of the US. And what I highlighted are just a couple of things. They say 5 ways to help farm animals. Now, note those ways don't include take care of them, clean up after them, make sure that they're comfortable, you know, the kinds of things you do. No, their ways to help farm animals include reduce your consumption of animal products. Replace animal products with vegetarian alternatives. That's their idea of how to help farm animals. In other words, they're going to help farm animals by making them obsolete. This is what Wayne Pacelli, the president of HSUS, meant when he famously said that he was in favor of, and I quote, one generation and out. He doesn't want the next generation of farm animals to be bred. He doesn't want dairy cows calving. In his mind, that perpetuates suffering and cruelty. And some of them, again, in unguarded moments in the past, have made comments like this. Very out there. This sounds like a PETA press release, but it's from the Humane Society of the US. Abolition. It's not about reform, it's about abolition. So here's their national agenda, just so you know. Both groups are after the same things. They want to take your tailbocking ban national. I don't know how you feel about that. Some people like the idea of having a competitive advantage in California for that. That's fine. They're going to attack everything you're going to do to positively advertise dairy foods. I mean, the Humane Society of the US is infiltrating the dairymen in California to try to persuade them that the Happy Cows ads are a horrible idea. That's why there's some dissent among farmers in California. And they definitely want the EPA to be adding animal confinement operations to their list of enforcement targets for global greenhouse gases. And HSUS is very smart. They're partnering with other environmental groups, pretending to be a green group, saying, we want to save the environment. No, they don't. They don't want to save the environment. They want to make it prohibitively expensive for you to raise animals for protein. And this is just one weapon in their arsenal. You ever seen this ad? It was on the back of Newsweek last year. They're trying to paint the picture that the food we eat is somehow more responsible for global warming than the cars we drive. Now, you've all heard the business about the UN report from 2006, Livestock's Long Shadow, and how it unfairly generalized to the exclusion of American practice. And if you don't know, the Environmental Protection Agency says that all of animal agriculture contributes about 2% of our greenhouse gases, not the 18% that the UN says. But they're still using this because it's a good rhetorical sledgehammer. So that was lesson number 2. Here's lesson number 3. HSUS is a business. It's not a benign charity. The direct mail marketing and the fundraising people in HSUS run the show. This is a money-making enterprise. Here's their tax return, cut front page from 2008, which is the most recent year that's available. They took in $85.5 million. They spent almost $100 million. They've got $162 million in assets. Think about that for a second. They don't make anything. They don't produce anything. They don't have any inventory costs. They don't have anything but a marketing budget. They've got, imagine what you could do if you had $162 million sitting in the bank and somebody told you that's your advertising and marketing budget. Man, the mind boggles, but that's what it's about. It's about the money. Here's a couple of selections from that tax return. $24 million they spent on fundraising out of a $100 million budget. Nearly $38 million in salaries. They've got a payroll of 800 people at the Humane Society of the US. That's how big the enemy is. And they make up more than half of the budgets of the 5 biggest animal rights groups in America, who combined are putting $250 million up against you every year. So I want you to understand, this is not a group of nice, kindly old ladies meeting at the garden club to make the puppies and kittens feel more loved. This is a business. Lesson number 4, PETA is a distraction. They no longer matter. I know there was a time when everybody feared PETA because they knew how to get press and they were imposing and scary, and if you wore a fur coat, you were gonna get red paint on it and woe is me, woe is me. No, look, they're a smaller group. They got $30 million a year, but they don't really move the needle much. They get a lot of press attention. Here's what they want for the record. It's exactly the same kind of thing as what the Humane Society wants. Just so you know, this is Bruce Friedrich, the Senior Vice President of PETA, again, talking in one of those unguarded moments about what his dreams are for America.
Let's just say there were just 5,000 vegans today. 5,000 animal rights activists, and we know there are a lot more, but let's just say there were 5,000. And let's say that net, those people created one more animal rights activist or vegan in 5 years, just net. So some people might, go back, but in 5 years there are twice that many. So it's up to each of us to get one more. And then those 10,000 got one more in 5 years net, and so on. We have a vegan United States in under 60 years by the power of the multiplier. I think we can do that.
Vegan United States in 60 years by the power of the multiplier. Now, I think he's a little optimistic. I think people will get the joke long before then. But I don't think it's necessary to create a vegan America in order to put you out of business. All it takes is to erode your margins enough to make it impossible for you to stay afloat. That doesn't require a vegan America. That might require 10% of Americans to swear off of animal protein. That might be all it takes. And all of a sudden, there are going to be no dairy producers who want to hand the business down to their sons and daughters. So back to PETA, they're just a distraction. They're a carnival sideshow. Their own president says that they're a bunch of press sluts. And I hate to be that vulgar in a mixed company, but that's what she says. And these are the people who literally will put a pregnant lady, 8 months pregnant, in a gestation crate in Covent Garden in London. I was actually there that day. They'll dress up in Ku Klux Klan outfits to criticize the American Kennel Club, claiming that they're trying to create a master race of dogs. I mean, look, they're fiendishly creative, they're diabolically clever, and they're almost always wrong. But at the end of the day, they never actually accomplish much of anything. Their real purpose right now in the movement, if you want to know why PETA keeps doing what they do, even though people think they're lunatics, it's because they make the Humane Society of the United States look reasonable by comparison. You'll see it all the time if you watch them like I do. PETA will come in and raise all kinds of holy hell. They'll fly a banner over SeaWorld saying, free the whales, this kind of stuff. They'll try to infiltrate the park and try to unfurl banners on the sides of the SeaWorld buildings and make life difficult for everybody. They'll terrify the children. They'll scare them, tell them their mother's a terrible person for bringing them to the SeaWorld. Then 3 days later, HSUS will call the marine biologists there and say, I know those PETA people are nuts, but look, you can work with us. We're not crazy. That's how they get in the door. That's how they have these conversations with some of your colleagues here in California about getting the Happy Cows ads off the air. They say, we're not the PETA crazies. You have to work with us. We're reasonable. I got news for you. They want the exact same goal as PETA. It's like the difference between a pickpocket and a con man, right? PETA's the pickpocket. They go after you, slash, bam, grab, boom, you're done. It's a quick hit. It's drive-by journalism sometimes, and it's all for the moment. The Humane Society of the United States is like the con man. They bring you along gradually. Come on, you can trust me. Let's work together. Hey, buddy, he puts his arm around you. In 2 weeks, you know what? Regardless of whether you get hit by the pickpocket or the con man, they've both got your money. That's the difference. It's not about their end game. It's about how they get there. Lesson number 5, HSUS is not a real humane society. They can sue me if they want, but it's true. This is one of the ads that you might see if you had Fox News turned on in the bar here in the hotel next door, or if you watch Discovery Channel or Animal Planet. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll play half of it just so you know. If you haven't seen this, here it is. Most of you, I think, have seen this at least 30 times.
Every day, thousands of animals throughout America are neglected, tortured, and often killed. They can't speak up or fight back against animal abuse, but you can. For just $19 a month, you can join the Humane Society of the United States in our fight to eliminate animal abuse everywhere. The Humane Society of the United States is the nation's most effective animal protection organization, rescuing tens of thousands of animals every year and fighting against animal cruelty wherever it exists. But at this very moment, animals are still suffering.
I've been treated so wrong, I've been treated so wrong.
Now, I showed you about half of that ad. If I showed you the whole thing, and we've done this, we've counted up the seconds and counted up the shots of the different animals. About 95% of the animals in these ads are dogs and cats. About 92% of the seconds in the ads show dogs and cats.